Hey there, everyone. So I've got a little bit of time tonight, and I'm just going to talk about this animation that I'm trying to make. So if you've seen any of my J videos, this might look a little familiar. This is a animation that I run whenever I have a scene transition. So I have this little bar comes down and spreads across the screen, and then and it types out whatever word you want it to say. So you tell it to say, welcome to my stream. Then it will, whoops, I'm sorry, that goes up here. So the scene title should be welcome to my stream. And we set the text length to 0 at the start. And then when it comes down, so this little guy comes down, and then that gets printed out. And so I think Godot can actually do a little bit better job of rendering this font right now. It's not very anti-alias, and I think that's just the settings of my project. But for the way I have it set up at the moment. But yeah, but basically on the screen it looks the way I want it to look, and this is an animation I've been using for years. In fact, I think I even had a version of it in Blender, and I've made this animation like several times in different engines. Like not necessarily used in a video, but in any case, I have this, and I wanted to port it to my new animation engine that I am building. So I drew the scene. So just as a quick update, I have this thing called Sketch App. You can now drag the canvas around. It's a little buggy, but there are panels that you can drag around and resize and like dock to various places. You can create a bunch of circles or whatever, select them, turn them all blue. You can align their centers in different ways, or whatnot. So on. So you can say we can make this one come to the front, send to back. Let's see, send to back, bring to front, do all that kind of stuff. There is a text tool where you can select the text and you can write. Once I added this dragging thing, these little resizers moved to the wrong place. But you can say you want this to be a font like Impact, and you want it to be 100, and you want the text to be Yowza, and then you want the color to be one of these colors up here, say FFCC 99, which I always use forever. And then if you could see the bottom of this font of this form, you could hit the checkbox and it would fill out, and whatever, you can move it around. So a lot of the drawing stuff is there. Some of it is not great. It's got a little bit of a bug. I actually have some work on a spline tool, which I've not demoed before, so this might not. This is actually a Catmull ROM spline. Not sure why it's taking so long to click, but anyway. And you can take these little pieces and move them around. It's a little bit different than a Bezier spline because the pieces are the points all line up, or rather the path goes through all the points, except for this little virtual point at the start and at the end. So that's pretty cool, and actually that I'm not sure if it updates, but it respected my choice of this color. A little bit buggy, very, very early, early demo of this thing. Yeah, not even, there it is. It's not pixel perfect in grabbing the thing, and I'm not exactly sure why. This used to be very readable, now it's very dark. But if you move this back up here, I guess you can see that it doesn't quite line up. Anyway, so the point is I got drawing tools, and I was able to make enough of that scene, this scene, that I can approximate the look that I wanted to have. So I can actually load that from JSON now, So we can load and save to JSON. You'll notice this doesn't always put the right font in. It's supposed to be Coolum Park, but it just doesn't pick it up sometimes. And I'm not entirely sure why. That's a bug. I'm not sure if it's a bug on my part or just something like that. But if I kick it enough times, you can make it work. There's no way to make it bold in the UI yet. I think that button may or may not work. But anyway, we can approximate the look and feel of the thing. Actually, I think I also had to make this scene. Oops, sorry. Set it to a particular size or something like that. Yeah, there we go. So then the next step would be to add some animation frames to it. Now I do have animation in here. Animation does work. I can create animations, and I've kind of refactored a little bit. So you might have seen this in my earlier videos. So this is all created with code though. And even today, everything I'm going to be doing is going to be created through code. But I want to get a little bit closer to, making this animation the way I want it to work. So right now, the animation here is a property of this thing, the GS Player app, which used to be called GS Animator. And it wasn't its application of itself and of its own. And I factored out this timeline widget, so that's shared with the other thing, which is the drawing thing, which is called a sketch app. And the docking does not, this thing does not behave properly when it's undocked. It's a little weird like this. To make it bigger, you drag this little resizer down, and then it pushes the container up. A little bit silly. But yeah, so the point is that once you get the tracks and the positions and whatnot in the right place, you can do the animations you want to do. But this only works for two properties right now. You can set the position and you can set the rotation. You cannot set the size, and so I need to set the size to make this little box come down and to expand across the screen. And I'll need to set a custom property here for making the text come out. So you can see that there is some sense of some concept of what a property is. So this inspector, I can bring it over to this side, has the font is it's really faint. It's really hard to see that, but it says ID, and then you can give it whatever name you want. So I named this blue rectangle back here, the stripe. This is the text. This is not in any particular order right now. And those are the two elements in my scene. So those two items are the only things in the scene. It's got a coordinates, or a pair of coordinates, a point. It's got a fill color, which is one of these colors from the Arnie palette. And that's about it. Yeah, and you can serialize it. So the way I'm serializing now, is I draw whatever I want, and then I come down here and I run this piece of code, this little snippet right here, that just makes a string and then dumps the JSON surrounded by single quotes. And JSON is generated by actually the very same tool that is generating this inspector. It's called Magritte. It's a meta model. And basically you describe the objects and the fields and what properties they have and what their labels are. And then you can extend it. And so you can tell it what the JSON key should be. Or, I created a thing that lets you tell it what the JSON key should be. And so when I run this, variable, or what did I do wrong? There we go. I don't know what I did wrong. I think I had something selected maybe. And it can make a JSON string for you. I know that's a little hard to read. Maybe I can make this bigger. And but then everything else will not be readable. But because I appended this, then now it's actually a command that I can copy and paste into this tool down here. And for now, I just have a bunch of things saved that way that I'm kind of working on. I'll show that in a second. But basically, you say JSON, GS JSON reader, GS being the name of this, or the code for this framework. And then you read this chunk of JSON, and whatever you get, it's, here's a class, here's some fills, here's some children, here's some text. You notice, I know it's really hard to parse through all this stuff, but the text does not have. In fact, I bet I think if you say this, right? If you just do this, and we inspect this, I think we'll get a JSON. Oh, weird. Huh. Okay, well, whatever. Copy it. If I inspect this, it should render as JSON. Yeah, and you can get the data, but it doesn't like it. So there's some problem with it. Yeah, so it's a little buggy. Got some issues with the saving and all that whatnot. So I'm still doing a lot of this where I'm just editing the stuff by hand. But once you get it this way, now I guess did that save it? Ah, you can't copy it. Okay, well, so that's dumb. Yeah, so I got to fix that. I don't want to derail this whole demo, but I can just get it to parse. So the GS text shape was placed, and then so it's missing the. There we go. Blah blah blah. And now we can parse it, and we see some actual data. But like you can see that this now you can probably see that this is missing the coordinates of the text. So it doesn't save that and everything, and it goes back to the top left. So the way this works, and this is how we're going to have to extend everything else here, is GS text shape. So this is something I made to wrap the, to adapt the built-in, editable label concept to my framework here. We can browse it a little bit. We can see that there is a bunch of stuff. These should actually be labeled as Magritte. But so these descriptions are descriptions of the fields. I guess I picked a bad example because they're all. Sorry. All right, so and then we have to refresh the scene. I made this thing and it's not up to. It's very much a work in progress. It's a little browser thing. But you can get these examples and you create on each as instance methods. You create a description for the fields in your class, and so you can annotate methods with these things called pragmas in Pharo. And then you can query for all the things with that annotation. So then you can make a view like this that shows, show me all the things with that annotation. And up here, these are things that I've added to the overall graphics framework. So you notice there is no place to put a position, and that was because I was experimenting with the notion of having the circle be positioned from its center and something else being positioned from elsewhere. So if we want to add a point for the text, at the moment, what we're going to do, and maybe this will change, we got to find the text shape, and we have to make a new method. And I just copied that method over from the circle shape. So I'll say, I'm just going to call this XY description. Or let's say position description. It's interesting that circle does not have a JSON key either. So I think that was actually a JSON. Yes. Yeah, so I haven't done this yet. The idea is that we can, I didn't know how to extend Magritte to allow allow JSON keys. But so give me a second here. So we're going to call this position GS position. And we're going to call this position. The GS position wraps the block stuff, and then I'm going to make a little wrapper for that. So now we look at the Magritte descriptions here. We have a position description, and somewhere in here, yeah, we have to wrap this if we want to give it a JSON key. This is not the way you're supposed to do this. Is it not even saving the text? It does, GS text. Oh, because right. So if the accessor is simple enough, then you can just set you can just tell it an accessor, right? And then by default, it's just taking that accessor to be the. Got it. Okay. So then if I were to do this right now again, I'd have to. I'm not sure. I think I have to restart the whole thing. GS Sketch App. Let's load this. Load this one, and then we'll export the text again. It's not going to be right, but now you can see it has a GS position. The GS position is wrong because it wasn't saving where I wanted it to save before. All right, but now we have that thing. Well, okay. So my intent is to use that exact same system for the JSON generation, the inspector. So this should say, now that we've added that, that should have a position field in here. I haven't specified what order they should be in, and it's not like truncating the, formatting these numbers very nicely, but it's there. And I think if I accept this, and then if I dump this out now, I would expect that to be truncated a little bit, but it's not being truncated in the form here. So I truncated to 3 decimal places in the JSON output, but nowhere else. Anyway, so this is all corrupt still, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. The point is that I've got a bunch of features in here, and this thing Magritte, this meta model, is that I've just been demonstrating is what is powering the JSON description, both the reader and the writer, and the inspector. And I want it to power the animator, but we're not quite there yet. Because before I knew about, I made the animator before I learned about Magritte, and in fact, I looked into Magritte thinking that, hey, this might do what it is that I'm trying to build, because I had pictured this, this sort of system where, right. So I made some design decisions that it turns out I could have done a little bit differently. So, for example, if I look at that GS text again, lost track of where it is, but GS text shape, and we look at the Magritte descriptions that are inherited. You see, I've added stuff to BL element, and some of the other things I've added to BL element. I think if I search here and I say package, yeah, and I say my package name, so you can extend any object with what's called extension methods. So they live in your. Oh, sorry, I got it. So the tag is with the star and then the name of the packages. But so I've added all these things like GS bottom and GS center that allow me to directly manipulate the position of any object, of any visible object, of any element, right? It's like the core object in block. The position accessor in in this fork of block is not symmetric. You read it with position, but you set it with relocate. Because generally most of the time elements do not set their own position. They're positioned by whatever container they're in. But in my case here, we do want you are the author and you are drawing the picture, and so you want to put things where you want to put them, and so objects do need to know their position, and that has to be something that's serialized. So it's still a little messy. Like these things, they have some state associated with them. When you set the position, you can't just immediately read it, right? And so there needs to be be some work done with that. But I'm not going to get into that. I've been rambling and showing off stuff. I want to get into a little bit of actual coding and then probably wrap this up pretty early. It's not going to be an 8-hour stream. Okay, so bottom line is that I basically copied and pasted this, cleaned it up somewhere, and I've now stuck it in a thing called GS Animator examples. Examples are meant to be something like a test suite. But that return a result, and that can be chained together, and you can put assertions in here. I don't have any assertions, but this little green box means that no assertions were failed during the run of this the last time it was run. So here we go. Here's the scene as it was saved here. Still, it's not bold. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't know if I can get it to be bold. You can see it's not even the same font every time, and that's a little weird. I don't know what to do about that. I can put a position in here now if I want, and so I can put this at the position that it was in here. So the position of the label never moves. The label never moves. It's always at this position, which is form 128 and 254. So position, so GS position, and it's always in a circle, and it has an @ sign in the middle, and it was 128 at what? 128 at 254. Now I have no idea if the coordinate system in Godot, like where text is, looks like the anchor point is up on the top left, and I think that's going to be the same for this. And the size of this is fonts 12. That doesn't seem right. No, font size is 120 pixels. Right. Okay. And also, this is 100%. If I make this, Godot uses a lot of screen real estate to. Yeah. So this is how big it should be, and this is rendered at 1080p, which is the size of the entire. That doesn't seem right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So when it's rendered in real time, it actually scales the window, because this is the size it renders at. I don't know why it's not showing. So the full size of this window, it's not set to trigger that animation. So I guess it rescales it to whatever the size should be. So it's going to look some about this size. So probably that's about twice as big as it should be, and so the font size should be 64. If it's set at 128 right now, then that's probably for a 4K screen, and it should be scaled down in half. Oops, that didn't work. It's because I'm missing a comma right there. Other world. Okay, I'm going to make my screen huge for just a second, because I want to see. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that now, but it looks like that's where it should be, and that looks about right. When you can see the whole screen, it looks about right. I cannot scale this, so I guess I can scale it, but yeah, I guess if you. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure what to say about that. This is actually set at I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it's sized that way. Scene size, scene extent. Extent was set to nil. Or this is the scene, so self extent. Okay, whatever. I don't know why it's that size. I guess because I haven't told it any size and it's just matching the parent. But because I'm on a smaller screen right now, I'm going to try and set this to. So we're going to say scene. Scene extent or scene size 800 at 600. This is just for testing. Once I have the ability to zoom these things, that's going to make a big difference. Wow, this failed because of invalid input. But we just ran it, didn't we? Did I break something again? Confused? I don't know. All right, again, you can see that if you look at the font, you can really tell that it's like this is the default font for GT, and this is the font I want. Except I want it to be bold, and this is being ignored. So I don't know. I think if I just run this now, if I just do this, no. Self child named text. If found, then do t equals span. And now, I have no idea why that doesn't work. It's just some kind of race condition. So I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to ignore the font for now. That's a scene for later. So this works. All right. So now the question is, we need to wrap it and give it a player. So scenes should be. My head's in the way, isn't it? All right. Scenes should have this text. Should have this ability to animate themselves. But I didn't start out that way. I didn't start out putting the animation on the scene. I built it from the UI out, and so the UI is what contains the animation at the moment. And so I did factor out this this little guy. So what I did is I just I took the self I took this example, and now I'm calling it, and I'm making a new player app that has this scene, and the player app has this animation tool built into it, this panel right here. And then we're adding a track for the strike position. And I just went through before the stream started, and I copied the the what do you call them, the keyframes, the keyframe values from here manually. It's a little bit different. Godot is timed in terms of, or specified in terms of time, because you have a variable frames per second based on how well the engine is running. Whereas here, I'm trying, at least in my current way of thinking, I'm going to have specific frames per second and target a very specific frame rate, which is 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second or whatever. I think my YouTube videos are generally 30 frames per second, which is really all you need unless you're like doing games or something. Okay, so yeah, so that's coming in nice, but you can see, and it does line up, and I think if that were bold, that would probably look about right. Let me make the font a little bit bigger. I don't think my, and then if I run this, and when we bring this down here, I do want to get panning and zooming here. Zooming is built into, you can, the zooming framework is already there in this system. You can scale everything, but just as the text was, getting out of sync with its bounding box, I did some work to address that, and I have to do the same work to address scaling. And so I don't want to click on something and then have the, it's huge and it's going to have these little tiny control points, right? So I need to fix that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you can see this is where it's wrong here. So you'd have this same problem if I scaled it. So I just haven't set that up yet. That's on my list to do soon, because then I'll be able to zoom in and out and see the whole scene with the mouse wheel. Okay, so so anyway, I've added this now. So this worked. This worked just great. And it's just in the wrong place. It really needs to be part of the scene so that I can serialize it, for one. And so all this is you add a track for the stripe. So it's a, the first thing is, what is the name of the thing you're doing? So that's why I gave it a name. Up here it has an ID called stripe. What is the name of the shape you are animating? And the second one is, what is the property on there that you're animating? All right, so the way this works, so then we'll see this, and this will not work. Adding size does not work, and as soon as I move this, I'm going to get a bunch of errors. So GSProp class is not indexable. And so that has to do with the word size is used to indicate like the size of an array. And so that it's complaining that it's not an array, right? In Smalltalk, that's the convention. That's what the word size usually means. It's overridden to mean something else. Now, I believe I can say, oh no, I can't, right? So if I say GS size, that's not going to save me at all. It's not going to work, but it might do something different. It will do something different. Yeah, it says it does not understand GS size, which is what it was trying to say before, but size was defined for object. So it inherited that. Okay, yeah, object is overloaded with so many things that, I personally would not have so many things on object, but, what are you gonna do? It's a 50-year-old language. Or it's an evolution of a 50-year-old language. Okay, so for a slot name on object, GSProp perform a slot name. And so what this is, let's actually load it up here rather than in the debugger. So we say GSPot. With any luck, I describe a point, but that's actually GS point description. Yeah, what did I say? A GS spot is not the word, was it? GSProp is the word. I don't know where I got the word spot from. All right, so this was my first take at something like this meta model thing. I tried to make it look a little bit like Magritte using this right to and so on. There's also a thing called slots in Pharo itself. But right now we have properties for a position, and what it does is it says, oh, interesting. How does this work? I see. So the word creating, this was not, I didn't think this out very well. All right, because it's on the class side. So if we look at the class side objects, we filter it down to the class side objects, you can see that position and rotation are the only two ones that are defined. And if we want to add a new one like size, which I think is what we're going to call it, then we need to have a GS size prop. And then we need to create that class. And so that's going to be a type of GSProp. GSProp. And it is, in that thing. And then save it, and we'll just copy whatever that does. All right, so we'll look at what the rotation prop does. And so rotation is not a property in this framework. It's not just an angle, but I want to imagine that it's an angle. And so I said a target transform rotate by a degree value of y. So this is what you have to do: is you have to take that element, you get it to transform, you call rotate by, and then you apply it. So you can do all kinds of things with the transform more than just rotating. Position, same thing. Actually, this one. Oh, so by default, read. Oh, I see get. Oh, I know why. Yeah, because we're not reading them. Right. You need to read when you're creating the keyframes, and I'm doing it all by hand right now. So this read is not just implemented yet. It's just not implemented, and we won't need it for tonight. So all I need to do is implement this one method right here, and size prop. And I was not necessarily thinking that this would only be for shapes when I originally made it. So it doesn't say whatever, but it really should be for a shape, right? And so we're going to write a size to a shape, which is really a point. We're going to say a shape, and we're going to say GS size, a size. So now, okay, well that does not exist. So anywhere is it GS extent? No, I just don't have an access for this. Okay, so size. So these are very simple, like just they're originally called setters, and then when I realized I need to read things too, then I started calling it props, and then I realized, well, Magritte does this, and maybe whatever. So when they're also tied to handles, like the index prop at index prop. This is used by the handles to move the handles in a path to move the point at that index in the path, right? Like it's a collection, it's a list of points, and then you just generate one for each point in the index, and you can read and write there. So read actually does work here, and I guess for this one, because this one actually needs to read it to generate the handle, and the size prop, I guess, could do the same. So, and so if we want to read a shape, then we say a shape at, not at, we just say size. Or I guess extent. You cannot write the extent for the similar reasons to why you cannot call the. I bet it'll let you do it, but it won't. It'll throw an error at runtime. It'll say it's deprecated and you should use size instead. So yeah, I don't really like this system, but that should work. And if we copy this class and we say, let's just say GS selector prop, right? I'm thinking ahead to the selector prop, and we're going to give it a selector. See, this is looking very, very much like a symbol, like the way Magritte works. Magritte has this whole notion of things called accessors, and they have read selectors and write selectors. A symbol, but I'm going to just do this. So read selector is equal to a symbol, and we'll make that a property of this. And so basically, you're going to configure this by giving it a selector to read and a selector to write. Write selector symbol. I don't think I actually saved read selector. Yeah, I didn't save it. So read selector, and then I saved the instance variable, but I didn't save the method. So now that if you just rename things and then save it again, you get a copy. I have to actually right-click and say like rename message to refactor it. Okay, so this is going to be for the text going across the screen. And I am running low on time here, but I'm going to just kind of wrap this up. So I might actually, I don't have the thing. So let's just do the extent. This should work now. So if I have a GS size prop, then I have to go into GS prop and I have to say, size. So I do have that. And then if I want to add with selectors, so read a reader, a read selector, and write a write selector. I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but we will say return GS. What do I call it? GS accessor prop, GS selector prop, new, and then we're going to say read selector, a read selector, and write selector, a write selector. And so this is called a cascade when you use the semicolon there. So it's going to send all these messages to that one object. It's going to update itself, and each one of them, the final result, if you don't return anything, is to return the object itself. Okay, so that's all set. And so then and then this one I read and write a shapes size. Definitely needs to be merged with the Magritte support for points, but whatever. And then this one we can, where's the other one I made? That was the selector. I'm almost done, sweetie. I'll be out in a little while, okay? Okay, I probably got to wrap this up, but I really want to see something on the screen. So write selector, write to, read selector, read to, and then we're going to say, oh, right, so this is not how we do this. So we have to say perform a size, and is it arguments? Argument. You just say perform with arguments, and then we're going to say a size. No, it's not this. We're going to say perform write selector. So perform write selector with arguments a size. And then to read it, we're going to perform a read selector. Comment, which, so now I could implement this with, I could use this to replace all these things, I think. Well, not the rotation, because the rotation is complicated. Not the index thing, because that's complicated. I'm going to give myself 10 more minutes, and then we'll try and wrap this up. So anyway, so I think some of these could be replaced with this one. It's more general, and also the whole thing could probably be replaced with Magritte in the future. But I just want to get this on the screen right now. All right, so I've added this. This is called size. So this is the symbol that's passed to GSprop to tell it. Okay, so this should work. Yeah, so now we've got this. It grows and it expands. I like that. And so now to do the text, we need to add the lengths here. And so length shown, I have to add that as a selector. I'm almost done, sweetie. Give me a couple minutes, okay? And then I need to add this to the GSprop. So if I say, I create a method called length shown, and this has to be on the class, because it's a constructor for the class. We're going to say we're going to return a GS selector prop new and read selector, write selector. I'm okay. I'm just making a video. I'm almost done. Okay, the read selector is length shown. I have to implement this. And write selector is length shown, and I have to add this to the text. Right? So we have to add this to GSTextShape. We have to add both of those accessors, and so we can say length shown is here. And then click this to commit that. This is also a Magritte form. So they're using that to describe the objects and generate the forms internally in Glamorous Toolkit here. And so we create accessors, and so those should have added two new, but we're only looking at Magritte descriptions. We want to look here. If we look under accessing, we should see length shown. And so when we do this, we need to redecorate. This is a number actually, so a number. And then we're going to self-redecorate, which is to redraw the text. And when we redraw the text, font size, and then, right, sorry. So we say self, text color is self, text color, font size is the font size. I don't know why text color is, oh, because it's a function you have to, I don't want to duplicate that function call. And I have to lost my place here. They're just like chattering away out there. I think it's bedtime for them. It's usually an hour later, but school has started, so my schedule's a bit off. All right, so I'm almost done with this, and then we're going to say text shoot. All right, so I have to do this. I have to say full text, full string. All right, so when we set this, all right, so first of all, in the initialization, this should be in initializing. Initialization. Text equals new text. Right, so it calls that. That's good. So text. I got to get this to listening for changes, but yeah. So now we have initialization here. Oops. So in initialization. We're calling text, and then from text, we can say self. We'll just say full string equals a string, and super text equals a string. Let's do this. I don't think this is going to be something length shown equals a string size again. And then what do we need to do when we call that setter, brings back down here in the accessor for that thing, the length shown. So when we recall redecorate, font size super text, because we don't want to use our text. It's going to be full. Oh, sorry. I think we have to start over because we need the text first. Because then you can't decorate the text until it's there. So self is full string. How do you say this? Banana, whatever. I'm almost done, guys. Come on, give me like a couple more seconds, okay? 5 more minutes. How do you find the first part of a string? Comparing, accessing, substring is called substring. I'm going to look up on Google here. Take the first, and I know you can do this. I know the string in Pharo. You do it. Okay, copy from text full string, copy from 1 to, and we have to wrap this whole thing because it thinks it's all one message. So we got to wrap this in there. Copy from to length shown. Okay. Yes. Scene title animation. Nope, not this. This is garbage. Animation. Nope, it's over here. Got to find this example again. So animated text. Run this again. It should work now. Oh no, does not understand title animated position and size. Oh, because it doesn't understand this. Title card animated position and title card. Not the word scene. Okay. Let me run this. No, we don't need this. We don't need the GS player anymore because we already have it. Right. Now we have 3 tracks, yes. Ah, there we go. Hello world. Ah, out of bounds 14. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost there. Close this. Yes. 2 full string size max length shown. Copy from text. Yes, that's all we needed to do. We just need to check that bounds condition and so then okay, Roppy want from super text. I wanted min, not max. And here's my thing going, ah, come on. I'm like seconds away from. Can't see my screen. I have this problem with my phone where I can't see the screen. Come on. Okay, length super text length shown equals 0. If true, then we're going to set the text to empty. If false, then full string copy from min of that, and then this is save it, and this should work. Yes, animator examples, we run it, and hello world.